Out of the ashes of the reckoning, from a long journey, we are finally able to step into the damned fires of the dark ether. We have had glimpses, flashes of it in the past. The strike team at Project End Station, when fighting Cortifex at the Archon, and even standing in the church to help Panos escape in Liberty Falls. But none as vivid as the atmosphere that will soon ensnare our new and returning crew. After being sent here by the mysterious power of the Sentinel artifact from the rooftop of Janus Towers, our ex-Requiem crew arrives in the Dark Ether's twisted version of this place, where they are immediately met by the faces of an alternate Richthofen and the other three members of the original crew, Tank Dempsey, Takio Masaki, and Nikolai Belinsky, meant to be banished in every timeline following the events of Togder Toten in Black Ops 4.
Welcome to the party.
We got that straight. It is a party, and y'all are the guests of honor. Or, technically, the main course.
And who the fuck are you?
I know. Y'all are confused. So was I. But as they say, this too shall pass. See y'all real soon. In the meantime, why don't y'all get to know some of the natives?
Kill them or be killed!
You all are some bona fide cutthroat killers. This is gonna be fun.
As we will come to learn throughout this perilous journey, the locations that reside here in the Dark Ether are all of their own doing. housing secrets and atrocities that made each place ripe for its descent into this hell. As for Janus Towers, the events that occurred over the course of Black Ops 6 speak for themselves. The destruction of the Liberty Falls town, the dark and corrupt history of experiments and secrets that the mansion housed, and the start of it all coming from the towers, created and ran by Dr. Edward Richthofen and Project Janus. These unholy occurrences made it a perfect candidate for this warden to feed from the imminent suffering of the place and our crew who happened to be there in its final moments. He would announce himself as such, despite mentioning that he has been called many names over the years and over the decades.
Folk will call you a lot of things over the years. Deserter, zealot, scourge, sovereign, purify, and flame. It don't matter none. But if you need a label, you go ahead and call me Warden.
This line happens every time you play either a game of Ashes of the Damned or Farm, and I find this one particularly interesting, and it's a bit of strange wording because I think it seems to imply that he is a being that may have lived and existed not just for many years or even decades, but hundreds or potentially thousands of years prior to our crew's arrival. Nevertheless, we press on as in the early moments after the warden tells us that he has other tasks to focus on, and so we look around and see a rundown pickup truck that appears in the lot of the towers, branded as Old Tezzy. Now we begin to learn a little bit about one another. We find out that this Richthofen that appeared before us in the Dark Ether is actually a very distinct version from the one that Requiem had just seen and the one who was the mastermind behind Project Janus. Instead, this version was a prideful Nazi scientist who came from a dimension where the Axis forces actually won the Second World War. He was taken from his land upon receiving a medal from the Fuhrer, yet despite his achievements, he too was taken here all the same. Tank Dempsey is a grizzled vet from the Vietnam War who was taken from his time and place while literally sitting on the toilet, and no, that's not a joke. Nikolai is a Russian tanker from Afghanistan who was taken a broken man, seemingly wanting to keep his distance in fear of losing more people that he may care about. Lastly is Takeo Masaki, a samurai from feudal Japan in the 1600s, who was tasked with eliminating hired targets for his homeland and is seemingly in secret talking to an ancient voice or a spirit of some sort. The identity and nature of the spirit, however, still remains a mystery. Since they all seem to be from different times and dimensions, it begs the question as to whether the possible existence of the multiverse really was eliminated from Nikolai's sacrifice in the forest. Supposedly, the purpose of that was to wipe out all other fractured dimensions and timelines and universes, leaving this instance of the Dark Ether quite the mystery indeed. Now, the dynamics of this crew I think are worth talking about since we now have 8 in total, and from what it can be gathered by their ensuing interactions, most, if not all of them, hate Richthofen, specifically due to him being, this version of him. But besides that, however, each crew member, despite obvious differences in views based on their respective eras and regions in time, they appear to get along for the most part. The only pairing, aside from anyone involving Richthofen, that is tense otherwise is that of Dempsey and Weaver, who for some reason acts very standoffish and disrespectful towards him. There is friction between them that is real and tangible, and there would soon be a revelation within the fog that would shed some more light onto why Dempsey feels this way. Either way, there are even bigger problems to contend with because, besides the obvious visual look of being consumed by the Warden, they are also missing something quite important. In finding out the nature in which these very different versions of our original 4 arrived, we also learn that alongside our Black Ops 6 crew, all of them suffer from memory loss in one way or another, seemingly a side effect or a direct intention of the Warden's actions from moments prior, feeding not off only their souls, but also their driving memories and what makes the crew susceptible to the possible dangers of the Dark Ether. After just a few short moments of bonding and otherwise getting familiar with one another, they uncover an ancient relic from the original Ether's past, hidden underneath the server room flooring, this being the severed robotic head of Ted, the bus driver from Transit. Weirdly, he now possesses a plethora of knowledge about the Dark Ether since being sent here however long ago following the events of Dr. Toten. Ted would instruct the crew to install him onto Tezzy, and in doing so, it powers her up, making her fully functional and allows for traversal around the landscape. Crashing through the gate awakens even more feral, white-eyed hordes that reside only in the fog of that area as they spill out from the shadows and attack. In the distance, the crew spots a farmhouse, seemingly innocent enough at first glance, until they arrive and are met with something far more ghastly. Strung up, burnt corpses, some reanimated and gasping for release. The horrors of this place are blatant, not only from the slew of bodies hung in the farmhouse, but even more so in the Van Dorn Farm family home. In there, sat across at the dinner table, are Ma and Pa Van Dorn with their 2 children, seen having a feast of decaying human remains. As can be imagined, the stench probably stunk for miles wide, attracting even more unwanted attention from the undead. However, something can be heard coming from upstairs, and it appears that the crew's attention came to static that could be heard from the TV. What appears before them are flashes of twin sisters who seem to fade in and out of existence, but after staring at the screen for even longer, it appears that the twins are apparitions in this astral form and prance around the farm to a chilling lullaby. It's learned that this isn't something caused by the Van Dorn's actions, but rather even the children had witnessed in their time alive before being sunk into the Dark Ether for their sins. Growing echoes of poor, desolate souls and a growling voice can be heard from the basement below the house, and as the crew investigates, a mysterious, flesh-covered cube of mysterious origin lays there. From some soul-like wisps hidden around the farm, we learn that the Van Dorns performed human sacrifices, likely to appease some almighty one that laid beneath the soil, possibly the warden, in hopes of opening the box and learning of its power. That was the goal of the Van Dorns as they prayed tirelessly to the ancient box and to the ancient one beneath the soil, but appears that their cries were never heard.
Almighty One who resides beneath the soil, we feel your hunger. We beg your forgiveness that the vault of flesh remains locked. We offer what bounty we have, knowing you cannot be sated. We pray for the wisdom to unlock the vault, that its power may sustain you. Until that day, we have only the flesh that serves in its place, as it must. We know our time grows short as our appetites increase with each passing day. Meat becomes harder to find. Their suspicious eyes look to our farm. And they whisper, warning one another to keep their distance. Naive enough to think they are safe. That we will not come for them. Amen.
Oh, amen.
Ma, pass me my blade.
After thoroughly exploring the farm, the crew continues onwards and travels down the road past a grounded shipwreck before entering the western town of Ashwood, much larger in scale than any other locations they've traveled to so far. This 1800s town was mentioned to have been the home of a wide-scale massacre during the Civil War. There is clearly tons of history buried here, and while exploring the saloons and buildings, the crew would come across another Brother Wisp, narrated this time by the Warden, giving context as to why he became who he is today through the act of betrayal.
I'm sorry. What was that? How could I betray you? Well, I gotta say, it was real easy. There weren't ever gonna be no other way. I was always gonna fan your obsession. Get that ember to flare. Whatever it took to bring that plump, hypocritical liar's soul to me. No, this weren't no betrayal. You brung this on yourself. Shit, son. You don't even know what betrayal is. You see, this place, this is where it all began. Ashwood. This is where our leaders, our best men, showed their true colors. These were no loyal grays, no proud butternuts. They was yellow. The kind that bleeds buttercups and sunflowers. Ashwood weren't no garrison town. It's just a bunch of hayseeds, church folk. We was using it to marshal our forces. Near 8,000 head of horse, split between battery and cavalry. And all about set to march against the northern aggressors. Now, this was the start of 65. The riding was on the wall. Jeb was dead. We'd taken a real beating at Franklin. We weren't dumb enough to believe we was gonna turn no tide. But we sure was gonna give them blue bellies a bloody nose on our way to hell. So, imagine our surprise when a scout comes screaming into town like he's got the devil on his tail, hollering that the Northerners were a day out and riding our way. Well, come dawn, we ride out to meet him. Except, something's off. A couple of miles out, the first of our horses began to drop. One by one, like death himself, were riding alongside of us. They got real sick, and their hearts just give out. By the time them Northers fell on us, they was all gone. We had no maneuver, no response. And their cannon shredded us like matchwood. And I ran. Boy, did I run. Had to evade the Yankees and then later my own. Scouring the countryside, looking for those they branded cowards. Deserters. But it didn't take no genius to figure out our horses had been poisoned. It weren't no northern tactic, and the locals didn't have the stones for that. No, we got served up like hogs by powerful men. Most like for whatever grace or favor they could salvage before our inevitable, inglorious, final surrender. You would know betrayal if it walked up to you and beat you square on the ass. There ain't no more wily a snake on God's green earth than the rich man afeard of losing it all. No matter what they claim their ideals are, self-interest is their only creed. Which is why, if you truly believe in something, you best be taking care of business yourself. Well, seems I've worked up a righteous hunger talking to y'all. Well, don't you worry yourselves. This won't take long.
Now, I find this piece particularly fascinating because we get a lot of characterization about the Warden and even how he came to be in the form that he is, but he also mentions a man named Jeb who died during this excursion that they were betrayed. Now, according to history books, this could be referring to Confederate General Jeb Stuart. This could make complete sense given the time period that the Warden is describing, but given the Dark Aether's behavior and uncovering parts of the original Aether's timeline, Jeb also could be referring to Jebediah Brown, the creator of the Pack-a-Punch machine from the original Aether story, built with the guidance from Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man. If so, Ashwood could be a down-the-road or even rebranded name for Purgatory Point, also known as Buried, especially seeing as some of the town is clearly missing or buried beneath the main areas accessible now. Perhaps the missing parts of Ashwood, like the haunted mansion where Jeb's mother resides and the jailhouse that Arthur would later hide in, are still canon and exist in another corner of this reality, but that still remains to be seen. Either way, whatever the case may be, the relevant parts of our crew's journey are uncovering the Warden's whereabouts and his nature, and to recover what was taken from him. There was a mysterious mirror that echoed an intense aura, and just behind that, in that very same jail cell that I described, we discover the robot Klaus, the same one that helped Requiem escape Omega Group by sacrificing himself at the end of Mauer der Toten. You can tell that this is the one and the very same, as he went through that portal with the same weapon and even Pack-a-Punch camo from that map. However, he too now is a prisoner of the Warden. The crew would have to travel out again to see if they could free Klaus, even if it meant fully rebooting his systems. As the crew now presses forward, they hear the faint sounds of a mysterious female voice, heard by each and every one of them, but it was broken and unintelligible. Was it asking for help, perhaps? Heading back out now, they drive under the remains of an Orda's carcass, the gigantic creatures from Black Ops Cold War, before arriving at a diner named Exit 115. We learn here that the sins of this place are pretty much contained with the actions of a Bonnie and Clyde sort of couple. Having just gone on a murder spree, Earl and Rita argue over if it was worth it all, and she questions his bravery, calling him a coward after he calls her out for having to kill her husband. A note written by the deputy would detail the cover-ups for each murder, citing 3 accounts: Frank near the service station, Linda in the diner, and Hank outside by the road. The latter, being Rita's husband, was the reason for her getting shot in the end due to her aggressiveness. When Earl lies in regret afterwards, he confesses what he did to Hank's body before he unknowingly drinks poison that Rita had left for him as a final parting gift. The only other bits our crew could gather here was a freezer key that contained the carcass of an abomination that would later be added to Tezzy to equip a living laser beam to her for more offensive purposes. Next, further on down the road, would be the Zarya Cosmodrome, surrounded on both sides of the fog by crashed rockets. It was an all too familiar location, the Ascension facility. The atrocity that happened here was in an alternate reality where Yuri Zavoisky, the man from the Aether story who would eventually become the Pentagon Thief, would hear a voice after reading a mysterious book of unknown origin. Whether this book will turn out to be the one we're all thinking of, the book that started all of this really, the Chronorium, remains to be seen. For now, Yuri is approached not by Samantha Maxis, as he had been before, but actually the Warden, and told to stand out from Gersh's shadow by sabotaging the rocket, sending himself and everyone else there into the Dark Aether. The crew would also discover Yuri's lab, which housed an alchemy station for mixing ingredients, something useful but requiring undead remains and even a blood ritual to complete its process.
Yuri,
Hello?
how long you gonna stay in his shadow?
Who's here?
But this rocket ain't your legacy. It's his.
Legacy.
What I see now is that I must make room for it.
I am recording what could be my last moments from the roof of our lab. Every encounter ended in fatalities. And now, I am all that's left. Yuri had something to do with this. The rocket malfunction manifested an Einstein-Rosen bridge. What even is this? Fields contained, finite. He ruined everything we worked so hard for. It wasn't until the launch that I saw the real madness in his eyes. Something or someone took hold of him. This was all preventable. I would be a hero. Safe at home. Not here. Waiting to be torn apart.
Now, this time, after crossing back through Ashwood, instead of going towards the farm, we head to a new destination, Blackwater Lake, a lakeside cabin owned by the esteemed director Dean Roth. It became the site of a spine-chilling murder on his top actress, Evelyn Sharp, by his own sick and demented hands, consumed by his own desire to get the perfect shot and pure emotion out of her. She details the unsettling nature in which the cabin began feeling, stating that he fired his whole crew except her and began to watch and record her at every moment, both on and off set. His refusal to respect her wishes ended in her final recording, where she proclaimed her desire to leave after the final take, but little did she know, it would also be her final breaths. Roth would drown Evelyn in the freezing waters of the lake before being transported alongside the lake house to the dark ether. Sometime after, a giant floating pyramid would take residence across the frigid waters, and it would be seen after some more work from the crew what truly lived inside there.
It's already beautiful.
He's watching me. All the time. Even when the camera's off.
We still have work to do. I need a close-up.
Of what? What's the scene? What's the context?
There doesn't need to be a scene. There doesn't need to be context. I just want the truth. I want the moment where you realize there's no escape.
Turn it off. Dean, you're scaring me. This isn't a scene. There's no crew. There's no one here but us.
We're not alone. Nature surrounds us.
I'm scared.
Exactly. Pure fear. Pure performance. You said you wanted to be immortal.
The mirror that once radiated a mysterious but blank aura now revealed a path, and one that would actually mirror a path in Ashwood, and it would show the crew a diamond-like structure that would soon enter their vicinity, the Seal of Sorrows. After finding 3 separate keys to unlock the binds that held the seal together, we now finally unleash the being within.
Shit.
You're alive. I did not hope. I could not. Do not be alarmed.
Take a look in the fucking mirror, hover girl, and say that again.
Quickly. He will feel my absence. You must listen. Each of you have encountered, been touched by a great power. Something has left its mark on your beings. The warden of this place sensed it. sought you out, tore you from your dimensions, and drained you to take that essence for himself.
Sentinel artifact. Damn you, Richtofen!
While he has those parts of your souls, he has dominion over you. You cannot fight him any more than you can hope to return to your own worlds. To even try would be suicide. But for all of our sakes, he must be destroyed. There are others here. Ancient denizens of the Dark Ether. Shadowsmiths. They too are bound to his will, augmenting his power. He forced them to harvest your essence, to refine it into the colostrum that sustains him. These beings cannot be killed. But destroy their bonds, free them from his control, then they will return what they were made to steal.
If she says we gotta chuck a necklace into a fucking volcano, I am so out.
Find where the one that watches this place is imprisoned.
You will forgive me if I do not drop everything to do the bidding of a gigantic floating head.
Speak for yourself. We do this all the damn time.
I cannot act against him directly, but I can guide your hands. Go! Go now!
Look alive, ladies. We got some ancient evil ass to kick.
The entity that appears before us, very reminiscent of Ava Jensen's alternate self from Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, from the future of this moment, tells our crew that they were all specifically chosen by the Warden due to each of them being touched by a dark and mysterious force. For the Requiem crew, it was actually the Sentinel artifact. For Tank Dempsey, it is something that he will remember very soon. And as for the other three, that still remains to be seen. But knowing this, she also explains how the denizens of the Dark Ether, also referred to as Shadowsmiths, appear in these areas under his control. They cannot be killed, but their bonds to the Warden can be severed in defeat, freeing them from his will. Instructed to do the same for the other lost souls, the crew presses on, attaching the Wunderwaffe DG-2 turret she leaves behind to Tessie in a means to gain ethereal power from the clock tower floating above. Tank Dempsey wandered off on his own for any clues as to freeing the souls near the Cosmodrome, and as he approached closer, he hears a voice calling to him.
Caught you. But that's not true, is it? Coward! Deserter! We're all dead.
Their eyes fucking glowing. Get it, you got this thing. Someone call who that back.
Did your stupid
No other way, Strauss! Do it!
arms of your whore? Now you can't. Is that what I tasted on your spirit?
What's very strange about this kind of difficult to understand moment is that we get more revelations about Strauss really than we do about Tank Dempsey. After Strauss activates something dark inside of Dempsey, we realize that he has more ties to the Dark Ether and potentially to the Order than we thought. When we see Tank Dempsey flip and he becomes this disciple, we see the Order of Chaos, these symbols appearing off of his body. These are the same symbols that appear on the High Priest of Chaos robes and all across the portals. We still don't really know what tying in the Chaos storyline has done to this Dark Ether universe, but I thought that this was important to mention as it makes Strauss appear in a totally different light than we saw him in before. Even though all of our characters are tormented by evil one way or another, Together, they once more need to learn to free the souls residing at each of the locations, and they do this by finishing the job and freeing the spirits that reside there. At the Zarya Cosmodrome, they help initiate and launch the rocket that the Ascension group long awaited to do. At Exit 115, the souls of the 3 victims, Rita and Earl, are woken at the stoppage of time and sent through their respective lightning beams to a better place. At Van Dorn Farm, we freeze Pa Van Dorn's madness in place and retrieve items assumed to have belonged to the family themselves and free them from their corrupted view of life through their cannibalism and murder. Lastly, at Blackwater Lake, the soul of Evelyn Sharp is freed when the film canisters are sacrificed, and she even leaves behind a powerful crystal in the upstairs bedroom for our usage and for her thanks. Klaus is then called into action one last time to harness this crystal, and when ready, the crew uses Klaus's power to redirect the gathered souls into the path of Voltesi so that they can finally collect and confront Vaetherion once and for all in this corrupt form.
Do you hear it? Calling to you. Listen. Remember. Feel. Restore. A weaver of the fabric of this place, from the memories it contains. I have always been here. I am a shadow smith. You have what was taken. The bonds that imprisoned me are undone. We are both free. Varan al-Akna fear and Shari.
Well, I trust we shall find more of these beasts for the rest of us.
It is not safe to linger here. He will know his pet is gone. He will investigate. I have folded the Dark Ether. Made a pocket in which you can hide. I will send you there.
Oh, shit.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. Since we made the entire Call of Duty Zombies storyline movie, it's been one of my most successful videos ever on my channel and is probably the video that I am the most proud of to this day. So almost 1 million people have seen that, and that really inspired me to make more things in that style. So I actually got a lot of my project partners from that movie to help me make this video. This is a very difficult collaborative project between all of us, and I recommend you guys go and check them out down below in the description. All of the guys that helped me out to put together this amazing video will be down there, so you should definitely go and subscribe to them too. And I think obviously this zombie storyline, the new Dark Ether timeline, is quite different than a lot of the Ether stuff that we all fell in love with back in the day, but as I investigate it more, I do think that there's a lot of still that interesting charm that is, you know, so part and parcel of the old zombie storyline, and Craig Houston is still actively writing a lot of this stuff, and I can tell in certain moments, so it's been interesting to do this, and I think the plan going forward is to maybe make a lore video like this for every single map that comes out for Black Ops 7. If that's something you guys would be interested in watching, just show me by subscribing and leaving a thumbs up on the video, and let me know what you thought down below in the comments. But thank you all so much for spending your time watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. That's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.